All right, Peaches, I'm so excited to have you on my podcast where, as we were just, talking with my team, usually we have a lot of, serious doctors, although they're not that serious. And so I think it's going to be so much fun to infuse a little bit of life and realness and humor to the show. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. And we all know that menopause is hilarious.
It's menopause. Isn't it hilarious that the word men is in everything? Menstruating, menopause. What else is it in? It's in like a bunch of stuff.
Mental,
Mental health. Yes.
menial.
Yep.
We could do this
Uh,
all day. I'm
we
good. I'm a
could.
good wordsmith.
Are you? Yeah. And I love how you have just been talking about as you kind of do on your amazing social media, just kind of a day in the life, or I loved your get ready with me where you asked what does GRWM stand for, and you're talking about your patches and falling off and slapping them on, and it's so refreshing because I think it's really fun to celebrate, like, sort of what we typically see younger 20-year-olds doing, which, hey, we kind of in our minds think of ourselves as a younger 20-year-old. And we kind of have these like different and changing bodies. And so, how have you kind of like found just kind of put this in your little snippets of your life and sort of make it fun and funny?
Well, I mean, it is what it is. I feel like this is me. This is my age. I don't take myself too seriously. And I find that often the things that bother me or I care about are things that other women my age, that, it bothers them and they care about. And I don't see any reason to try and put my perfect self out there because that's super boring. I think it's way more interesting to show the flaws or the struggles or the things that we have in common.
Yeah.
Like waking up one day and having a stomach sitting on your lap. I mean, that is exactly what happens. You're just going
Yep.
along, and then next thing you know, you have a mustache and your stomach's on your lap.
Hmm.
What's a girl to do?
What is a girl to do? For me, it was like all my hair started breaking and falling off, and I was like, no, I'm always the girl that's like, this never happens to. Like, what is happening to me? And like, I should know potentially, but like you look around and all you see is like, the perfectness, and it's just so, it just doesn't help. It just doesn't help.
Well, let me just tell you something. We all can be perfect. I mean, I could put my hair together and get my kids to look great, my dogs to look great, and show a photo of us in, Mexico having the greatest time as a family. And yes, of course, those are things that happen. But I mean, it is way more interesting and way more fun to talk about, when you almost pooped your pants at Target. That is way more fun in my book.
What, let's talk about like making light of life and humor. Because before we jumped on, you were kind of like, this is all it takes to be funny. Because, we were joking around. Like, I was like, I'm not that funny. I need to bring more laughter into my life. And one of the things I've been actually working on is like finding more joy and finding happiness, which again, I have a seemingly wonderful life. But just the way, society kind of conditions us is to kind of always feel like stressed or to be perfect. So like, how have you been able to cultivate this? And like, how do we, add some, if we don't feel like we're genuinely funny people, maybe that's also like too much pressure. Like we're not comedians necessarily, but like, how do we start to incorporate some joy and like bring some humor into our lives?
Well, I mean, uh, don't let the turkeys get you down. I mean, you can, if you want to feel bummed all the time, you could. I don't like that. I don't want to live like that because life is tough. We all know this. Like what, and when you're raising, I have two kids in college, like they often think the sky is falling with something very simple as, a grade or, something happened with friends. And as you get older, you appreciate that you have to ride it out and you have to have a good attitude because otherwise, I always joke, I'd be under my bed with a bottle of tequila. And I don't want to live like that. So I try and see, that doesn't mean I don't get stressed. A lot of things bother me when I'm not sleeping, doctor, at 3 a.m. A lot of this
Oh,
comes up and I start thinking about the things that worry me. But in general, just like lighten up. I mean, everyone is just so serious and mad and polarized and just stop that. Just stop it. And joy
Yeah.
is a choice. We do know this.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, I'm so pissed that that happened, just think, well, it was nice that I had an opportunity to blah, blah, blah. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but I don't know. I also have my husband, who I call Captain Big Shot. He's a very sunny person. He does not get down. And again, there's a lot to get down about, but
Uh-huh.
I mean, just stop. And I'm not worried about being perfect. I've always been someone like, I'm confident in my own skin mostly. I
Hmm.
don't take myself too seriously.
Hmm.
But I like what I like. I've never really cared if, I like to wear muumuus or I like a big cowboy hat. I love huge hats. I love absurd things.
Oh
And,
God, when you went to
people might feel,
the
what?
Halloween store, the Halloween costume shopping,
Oh, I mean,
it was
yeah. I mean,
so
what I'm attracted to is not what everyone's attracted to, but I like, big fur hats or a big
yeah.
feather. I like to put feathers on everything.
Yeah.
And, I think people get so caught up in what others think. I don't
Yeah.
know why you would care. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't want to run around being an a-hole all day long to people, but you have to
Right.
decide like the people around you, you care what they think because you want to make sure you're not running amok in society. But in general, like if somebody rolls their eyes because you're wearing a big fur hat, like faux fur, by the way, faux fur,
Oh, oh.
um, who cares?
It's interesting because I think there are so much like messages that we get. Like we are, supposed to be like, we're tribal people. And so we kind of want to fit in. And it feels really awkward not to fit in. But the truth of it is that all of us are really unique and we're always taught to suppress like the things that make us genuine and authentic. And like, have you always like felt like you just like leaned in, or was there like a moment where you were like, screw this rhetoric, I'm just gonna like be me
I
and
don't
be
know. I
her?
mean, I don't, so fitting in, I get that. You want to fit in and especially if you're raising teenagers and those young tweens, like all they want to do is be like everyone else.
Yeah,
But I think it's cool. I always tried to teach my kids like if you like XYZ, like that because that
yeah,
is what makes you cool. It is cool
yeah,
when you are confident in your own skin and you feel good about just embracing the things you like. What do I care if you like classical music or want to go on a weekend retreat and do yoga and I don't like that? What do I care? What
yeah,
difference does it make to me?
yeah.
You be you, I'll be me. And that's why I love people like people who try and be perfect around me. I'm like boring. But if you show me your flaws and everything, I'm like, I am all in. I'm right there with you. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I just think as you get older, you have to just stop caring it. I do think a lot of women stop caring. You have
Y-
to.
Yeah. Do you think that there is, people, but my patients will say, especially as they go through menopause or they're in their 50s or in their 60s or like, that really they, kind of like whatever the saying is, like I have no F's left to give or
Right.
etc.
Yeah.
And they really, I think one of the most freeing parts, and I think it's just timing, it correlates with menopause. I don't know that it has anything directly to do with menopause, but this feeling of finally like I can be authentic and that feels so damn good. And so have you noticed it's gotten better? And also like, yeah, why the heck can't we do that sooner? Like, do we have to stop bleeding in order to like feel like we can be in our authentic self?
I mean, I don't know. I can't always relate to that because I think one of the things I've always liked about myself the best and the most is that I have always been me.
Mhm.
I mean, going back all the way to like college and stuff, I was still wearing muumuus. I still loved Dolly Parton. I still was kind of, I wasn't weird, but I was just kind of out there you know, and again, in terms of fitting in, I sometimes even still, I'll go to a party. I'm like, ooh, you can tell when you don't mesh right with certain people, but what do I care? I mean, if they don't,
Yeah.
if you're not meshing, you just find the people you are. But I mean,
Yeah.
I hope people can get there faster because it's
Yeah.
it's not a good feeling to feel
Like you don't
not
like being in
comfortable.
your own skin. Yeah. I know. And it's like I have my daughter is 8, so she's even a little bit younger. And it's crazy how early it starts, kind of the fitting in and how they start to abandon like the things that they like that they kind of feel is too childish now, or kind of, it's interesting. And it sounds like again, you've kind of always had this ability for like self-love and just being into yourself. And like, I love that so much. I'm reading this book. It's called The New Happy. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I literally was like 2 weeks ago, I was like, I want to cultivate more happiness. And it was interesting because so far, honestly, like the very first lesson is like, be who you are and be authentic. But it's really hard for so many people. And when you're kind of authentic on, social media and you have this like huge following, do you feel like it has affected you to either like spread like this idea, spreading this like, I'm going to be authentic, like I'm going to, I want to give you sort of this excitement that you can do it too. Is it weird that everyone, people are asking you about things about your life like menopause and the patch and all of that? Like how is that affecting just
Well,
kind of like yeah.
I love my followers because I feel like it's a community where we interact with each other. And when you are open to new people and I don't know, when you're open,
Yeah.
you can meet all kinds of people that aren't just like you. And again, coming off a political cycle where it's like you're either this or you're that, and then everyone's mad at everyone else. I am open to all people. And so therefore there are some women in Australia, there are some in Europe, there are all walks of life. Some came to me because they think I'm, an avid sewer and crafter, which I try. But that's again, I like to do stuff. I don't necessarily know how to do things. I just like to try things.
Yeah.
That's also a part of being happy is just try stuff.
Yeah.
Try new things. Try new things. But I
I love
like it.
it.
It can be draining because I try and interact with so many people. So sometimes I just hide my phone because it's like everything comes to me on my phone. And if I
Yeah.
just put my phone down, then I get rid of some of that noise. But in general, there's a community of women out there, and I've just found like we have so much in common with our challenges, whether it's parenting or our bodies or aging. Um, it, I don't know. I mean, we're all in it. I feel the same way. Like it takes me so much longer. I remember in my 20s trying to get ready, and I was like, oh, after 4 minutes, I was like, oh, I look pretty good. Now I'm like, oh God. It's like I try and focus more on my hair and my earrings
Yeah.
because now it looks like I'm a smoker around my lips. I have all these fine lines. I'm like, where'd those come from? Damn it. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. It's like then like the lotions and the potions and all the things. And we're all kind of in it together, like figuring out like what do we do? How much do we do? And I think and you tell me what you think, but I think that one of the things that also brings happiness is like community, which is like a big part of what you do. And like, I think that community, even if it's virtual or if it's in person, and I'm sure you've got to kind of like talk and meet with so many people through building a community, but that also probably brings so much joy is just building communities.
Absolutely. Community is key. And also, I try and just make everything funny and authentic and relatable because those qualities are attractive to most people. And if we can all laugh at the same micro short or, just the absurdity, like there's so many absurdities as we're aging that we keep seeing and we all are seeing it. So there's some community around just like the collective gasp around some of the things that are out there. And I so
Uh-huh.
appreciate my followers being in on that with me
Yeah.
because it's great.
Especially when it's like global. It's like it fills my heart too. So you told me that you had been talking a little bit about your like midlife journey, and you posted some stuff online, and you got like a bajillion things, and you were like, okay. But like, how do you feel like talking about some of these maybe more personal things like menopause is for you? And maybe you're like, just kind of what I'm going through. So right, I'll tell my community and see where they are. Or is this one feel a little bit more personal? Like, how has menopause kind of gone for you?
Yeah. Well, here's so I don't know if you're familiar with Enneagram, but I'm an 8 and we typically like to avoid things that are unpleasant or medical things. And
I
so,
think I'm a 3, but we
okay,
could do this. We could do this at the end because
okay.
I feel like you
But
have to take your birthday, right? How do
right.
you do it?
Well, you have to take the test and then it's all these
Oh,
things. And yeah.
okay. I'm gonna have to
But
take the test.
so
Okay.
for me, I like to avoid any form of deep dive into menopause. That's just me. I don't it seems unpleasant, so therefore I don't I don't
Focus
want
on
to
it.
I just snorted. I don't really want to hear about how let's see, I'm gonna get some joint pain, my heart palpitations, I'm gonna do this, that, and the
Yeah.
So my approach is I have a doctor, what she said, I trust her, what she tells me to do, I do.
Yeah.
But now let's review. I have had the hot flashing thing is a thing. And I was going through that. I was on the pill just to kind of mitigate some of those things. But I would be at a cocktail party and it would start, it starts at your toes. It comes all the, have you had one yet?
And yeah,
Okay.
I get
So
them in
it
the
would
middle of
come
the
up
night.
the
I
back
get
of
the
my,
slimy ones.
yeah, yeah. So I had that. And then it would get into my hair and then my hair would get wet and
Mm,
then I'd start sweating. And I'd have to, even if whoever I was talking to, I'd say, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm having a hot flash. I don't know any other way around that.
right.
Um, and then I got on the HRT and that was a game changer for me. But I have some questions for you if you don't mind.
Oh, yes. Oh, let's
Okay.
turn
We
this
can do like a
around.
power round. Like you don't have to
Yes.
get too far into it. We can just do a speed round on
Let's
symptoms.
let's go.
So when they say brain fog, is that when I lose my keys and I spend 20 because I lose everything. I hide things from myself. Like I hide my fabric scissors because I want to make sure they're in a special place and then I can't find them. And even just before we did this, I had put my ID and a credit card away from the rest of my things and I couldn't find them. So I spent half my day looking for things. Is that a thing?
Is it new or is it like getting worse?
Well, I also kind of have ADHD, so
Yeah.
that's part of that, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's getting worse. I look for things all
Yeah.
day long.
Yeah. So this is so totally normal for brain fog to kind of kick up or even ADHD to kick up. So you put those together and then like yeah, you just feel like you're kind of spinning your wheels all day just like looking for the scissors and then forgetting what you were doing and then like, patients will tell me things like they leave the door to their house open, they leave the keys in their car, they've, had things all sorts of crazy things left the stove on. I mean, crazy things. And what we do know from actually Lisa Mosconi's book, The Menopause Brain, and more research is that there's kind of this critical window between like late peri and early menopause where it can kind of heighten and then it actually can get better. And so it doesn't mean that you've got any early dementia or Alzheimer's, even though that's actually people are like, what the heck's going on in my brain?
Yes.
So sometimes hormone therapy can make it a little bit better. So you might have noticed that, sometimes not. And just know that it's like pretty normal and it can be really funny and comical. And good news is that oftentimes it can get better. And if it's more severe things like you can't remember how to get back to your house, like if
Oh,
you're at Target, you can't remember how to get home, that's like more of a red flag. But sort of the like looking for things all day or like not feeling as productive. Or a lot of people will tell me I can't like read a book, like I can't forget that. That's all pretty par for the course, even though it sounds sucky, but pretty par for the course.
okay. Next question. How do I know if, like, I hear so we get, we dry up, we become bitchy. Like, how do I know if I find people around me annoying? Not my husband. I would never, ever say that.
Never.
Um, if I'm like short with him, how do is that bitchiness from menopause or am I just a bitch? Like, how do you know the difference?
Ooh, this is a really good question. So, like most things, it may be a little bit of both. And the reason is that like, so I call this short fuseitis and like this short fuse. And a lot of people will tell me they kind of get more of a shorter fuse or they get irritable
Yes.
sooner. In fact, I had a nun, you would have loved her. And she came to see me. This was way back, like 2016, 2017. I worked in Ohio State at the time. And she's like, I curse all the time. And I've never cursed in my life. And so like there is like my one proof that there is like something about it. And I think actually what's happening is like the change of hormones in your brain can be really irritating. So little things really can make you feel a little bit irritable. Also, we're women and so we're used to doing so many things. And I do think what menopause is interesting, and I think I can feel it starting in perimenopause, is like you're getting to that point where you really have no F's left to give and you're like just you're waiting, but you still have so many things that you've had your children and raised your children. Now you're paying for your children and the house needs maintenance and the pets are getting old. And like, I think there's a little bit of both.
Okay. Okay, here we go. So is joint pain in your hips, and heart palpitations, is that menopause?
It definitely can be. And in fact, those are, symptoms that are that common things happen commonly. And if you think about the fact that menopause happens to 100% of people with ovaries, that's pretty common. And actually, the reason we can have heart palpitations is also the change in estrogen levels. The fluctuation can cause like a little bit of asynchronous firing. So you just get an extra one and it scares the shit out of you when it
Yeah.
happens. Then you go to the cardiologist and the cardiologist is like, everything looks fine. And then you're like, more frustrated because you're like, well, what the heck's going on? And then joint aches and pains, there's also receptors for estrogen in our joints. And so that can cause some joint aches and pains. And again, women kind of get frustrated throughout this whole thing because their doctors are like, oh, you have wear and tear and osteoarthritis and, nothing you can do. But again, sometimes we see with hormone therapy that those two things can resolve. And this is actually where I'll use hormone therapy as almost like a diagnostic tool. Because if, let's say you've got terrible joint aches and pains, or heart palpitations or both, and it doesn't help, then you're like, okay, it's not hormonal. Maybe I really do need to see the orthopedic guy. But common things happen commonly in menopause is inevitable. So pretty common.
Fun.
You
Okay.
love that you're just checking.
Does menopause end?
Oh, this is a great question. Like it's such a simple one, right? And you would think like if you have hundreds of thousands of followers, that this would be an easy question to answer. So, you and me were both talking about how we have kids. So we have had children. So we are always postpartum, right? Like once you've had a baby, you've always like had a baby. And so the same thing applies for once you don't make estrogen and your ovaries have like retired, you're always postmenopausal. So a lot of people use the word menopause to mean symptoms, but it refers to the state of how much estrogen your ovaries, which is your little glands, are making. So once we're postmenopausal, we're always postmenopausal. Once we're postpartum, we're always postpartum, right? The pelvis, not going to be the same. And even though my kids were small, like, darn. And so, but if you have symptoms, again, a lot of people use that word interchangeably. So if we say, well, symptoms last forever, not always. Some symptoms can linger and some symptoms can go away. So we already talked about the brain fog, and we see there's like kind of a peak and then it can kind of go away again. Hot flashes, there's a peak and then it can go away. Although it can last a chunk of time. Like we're talking like 5 years, 10 years. So not like a year. It can definitely last longer than that. But then other things like the dryness, the dryness down there, the dryness down there, and those changes, they're usually progressive. They're not going to like get better with time. So I does that answer the question? Because it's like such a simple
So
question.
the answer is not really,
Yeah,
sort of, not really.
right. The answer
If you had to do
exactly.
it in one sentence.
Once you're always postmenopausal, estrogen will never come back, and some symptoms will go away, and some symptoms don't.
Okay. Copy that. Copy that,
Copy
doctor.
that.
Okay. I had a lot of my followers wanting me to ask you, I got a lot of questions about, is it too late?
Yes.
Is it too late to get on HRT if you're in your 60s? Is it too late? And then the flip side of that is, can you stay on it forever or do you have to get off of it?
Such a good question. So it's never too late. Never, never, never,
Never
never,
too
never,
late.
never. If anyone learns one thing from this episode, it's never too late. There is some data, we know that it is it's most beneficial, but not the only reason beneficial, but it's most beneficial if you can start within 10 years of your last period. So even if you're 62, if menopause was 55, like you're totally not even too late. So age is kind of irrelevant, and there is this lingering idea that if you're 60 and over, it's too late, and that is no, that's junk. So it's never too late. And even I see patients routinely in like their late 60s, their 70s, and maybe then we don't necessarily maybe want to try like the patches like you've got stuck all over you in your house, but maybe we could try vaginal estrogen or progesterone or testosterone. And so it really depends, sort of like, yeah. For those of you who she's got a patch stuck to her patch, which is amazing. Patches on patches, like
They're
there's new
everywhere. They're all over the house.
everywhere.
They're on the carpets. I don't know what is going on with these patches, but
We might need to switch you to gel. We'll talk about that in a second. But it's never too late, and there is no time at which you must stop your hormone therapy if you start within the 10-year window. But really, it's so individualized, and having a good clinician guide you through it is so helpful. And like also, Peaches, while we're on this topic, I do want to say that I talk about hormone therapy a lot, but it is you're not doomed if you can't take hormone therapy. I want, a lot of women to know there's still a lot of myths and misconceptions, which is so great because having you, throw your patches on as you're doing your get ready with me, helps normalize the conversation. It really does. But there's no one way to do menopause. There's no one way. Mm-mm.
well, that kind of goes to the there I think in our era, in my age bracket, we were raised that HRT is dangerous with cancer. So I had a lot of people who can't take HRT for whatever reason because of a gene or a familial cancer situation. Are there homeopathic things that actually work? Or are there
Yeah.
other options?
Totally other options. I kind of have these three big buckets. And if the third is hormone therapy, let's work our way backwards. So the first is lifestyle, supplements, complementary, and alternative medications and devices or wearables. Like that already you're like, okay, sounds like a lot. But we know that certain supplements can be really helpful. So if one doesn't want to take hormone therapy or can't take hormone therapy, there's so many cool things out there now. Now there's like cooling clothes and cooling sheets and cooling bedding and cooling everything.
Oh, that kind
Um,
of thing. I
there's
see.
there's really cool cooling sheets actually.
But you
There's like
can't you can't go to a cocktail party in a cooling sheet. So
you
what
can't you could
there's
if you could wrap it around like a what's those things?
well,
What's
maybe I'll make a cooling sheet dress
a
for
cooling sheet
cocktail
dress?
parties.
I'm obsessed with the company Rest. They make the coldest sheets, like so good. Rest,
So
yeah,
good.
so good. Yes, I got hooked on these, and like now that's like all I'll sleep in. I'm like, oh, I will not sleep on the sheets from Target. Anywho, uh,
What
we
do you
know
what do you mean
that,
by supplements? Like what's an example of that?
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Um, so, so, so let's start with actually food because then work to supplements. So, plant-based diets can help reduce hot flashes. Now, not everyone's hot flashes are the most annoying thing. Sometimes it's sleep, like you said, like waking up and like in the middle of the night and then starting to worry, even someone, like yourself. And why plant-based diet? Because a lot of the vegetables, like the root vegetables, can help ease the symptoms of low estrogen because they have little chemicals that look like estrogen. So things like
Good.
yams or lots of root vegetables. And then there's soy isoflavons, so things like tofu, edamame, those can be really helpful. And no, that will not increase your risk of breast cancer, even if you'd have to, that's kind of this older myth, so we're not even going to go down that road. And then therefore there's supplements that are soy isoflavone, something like Equel, which is over the counter, or black cohosh, which is mostly made of a lot of those root vegetables. And those can be really good for things like hot flashes. Ashwagandha is really great for sleep. And ashwagandha kind of has a lot of calming hormones, or no, did I just say hormones? To calming properties, which can kind of just calm the brain down. And that can be really, really good if someone does not want to take hormone therapy or can't take it.
Well, by the way, this sleep thing is bullshit, and I'll tell you why. First of all, women carry the load of everything. So it's no
Mhm.
wonder that we have to get up at 3 to go pee. And then we start thinking, oh, is my kid going to be okay at school? And oh, I have to get this at the store. And oh, I need to remember to tell my mom this. That is not, is that, that's not even, that part isn't even hormone related. That has
Well,
nothing to do.
it could actually. Well, again, like I think there's always like a little dash of this and like a dash of that. And so, of course it happens to us in the middle of life when we're taking care of, like, we're sandwiched. So we're taking care of parents now, we're taking care of kids and spouses and houses and pets and like all that stuff. But progesterones can be, are back to hormone. I guess this is the second bucket's non-hormones and then the third bucket's hormone therapy. But progesterone can be very calming. Progesterone's kind of our calming hormone, if we're going to call it that. Estrogen's kind of our happy hormone. Progesterone's like our calming hormone. And then again, it's like bullshit. We just lose them. It's like our ovaries should last till 72, but they last till like 52 or earlier. So it's yeah, it's not fair. Um, so progesterone can be very calming. And so as we lose that, and then as we lose estrogen, that can cause awakening and then the worrying and then the spiraling. And so then we have to infuse a little bit of humor in our lives so we can like, you know,
We
get
got to
through it.
normalize the fupa. I mean, we have to say,
Yeah.
like, this is a part of the body. Why
Yeah.
do we wake up and have a stomach? What is that?
Yeah. So this is, oh my goodness. We don't exactly know, but a couple of things are that certainly actually it's probably a kind of constellation or dance of hormones that kind of decide like how fast or slow we metabolize food, if we turn them into adipose or fat tissue, and then where we put it. Okay. And like we don't get to control that, or else we'd be like, put it in my tush, put it right here, or wherever, what right. But so a lot of times after menopause, we'll start getting fat deposition in our stomach or in that mid central area. And that sucks, not for two reasons. Most of my patients for two reasons. One, no one's like, gosh, I want to be, completely unrealistic and not look like myself. Everyone just wants to put their pants on and button them,
That is correct.
wants to put their pants on and button them. That's like step one. And then step
Yep.
two is we
101.
also, we also know that, we are being told, and probably rightfully so, that like that mid abdominal weight is not great for us long term. And so those are usually the two things, that women worry about. And so I also too like to fit into my clothes because I paid a lot of money for some of those pants and dresses, and I
I
want them to
know.
fit.
I woke up 30 pounds heavy from 40 to 50, 30 pounds. And okay, so it could be that I was like binge eating Triscuits at 10 o'clock at night. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but like, do I have to blame myself? Like I'm a sloth, or is that the menopause doing that to me? But I did. I
Yeah.
woke up and I was like, holy crap, I have
Yeah.
this belly
Yeah.
and my butt and the whole thing. And I was doing Orange Theory. I do Orange Theory probably 4 days a week. I play singles and tennis. Like I'm not a couch person. I am an
Yeah.
active person, and none of that made a difference. And
Yeah.
let's not talk about the wine because we're going to pretend that I am having a very active lifestyle at home as well, drinking water.
Drinking lots of water. So yeah, that's one of the things that also is like very I was either going to say frustrating or disheartening, but I'm wondering if I can somehow use something, but it's very common. And a lot of it is, or I think, and again, I've been doing this for like a long time. And so I see just the most wonderful women who say, I'm not changing my diet, I'm not changing my exercise that much from my baseline. Is it perfect? No, but it's like really good. But nothing else is changing. So it could be a couple of things. One, it could be, again, that metabolism and then where sort of adipose tissue is deposited. And then two, the not sleeping also is so bad. Yeah, because like then our like primitive bodies are like, we must be gearing up for some sort of like hunting event. And so we must store all of this as fat because we're not sleeping. So we must be strategizing.
I mean, it's amazing that we aren't literally murdering people in parking lots. I mean,
It's literally
if you think
amazing.
about it, like, because
Yeah.
this is not a setup for success mentally, because I was feeling bad about myself. I was
I
feeling really bad
know.
about myself. And I am a body positive person, by the way. I
Yeah.
give myself a lot of grace
Yeah.
because I know certain things I can't fight.
Yeah.
Captain Big Shot and I, we have a cycle where every 5 years we get really fat and then we kind of do a diet and then we get thin. So I just lost some of that weight, but it's going to come back. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be this whole cycle. I will tell you that I started a cult called the Peach Dividians, and the Peach
Mm-hmm.
Dividians,
Mm-hmm.
it's an amazing female-based cult where there's no sex abuse or perverts. It's
Mm-hmm.
all just like pavilions, like we have the Kenny and Dolly pavilion. I'm gonna have a menopause pavilion where we can just go
Oh,
in there and we can shop for like
yes.
HRT or like
Yes.
yam juice
The
or
sheets, the cooling sheets.
there'll be edamame and cooling sheets, and we can just
Yes.
go in there. There'll be fans. There'll be
Yes.
fans everywhere, and
Yeah.
we can all show each other our bellies and our mustaches
Yes.
and talk
Oh
about our
my.
joint pain
Yes.
and how we wanted to murder someone. And it's
Mhm.
going to be amazing. Do you see how this is going to work?
Totally. I totally see how it's going to work. And like,
Thank
I'll
you.
even share, my short fusitis. And again, like of all people, you would think like, oh, do I always have it perfectly together? Am I always calm? Is my HRT regimen correct? No, none at all. Like my middle one needed a physical for something. Like he needed it in a timely manner because I think he needed to be evaluated for like occupational therapy. And the office called me to say, could I move my appointment 15 minutes up? And I just lost it. Like, we really are all humans. There's no like postal code, zip code. There's no like employment status that like you are freed from this. It is something that really does like everyone can go in the pavilion.
Thank you. And by the way, I have a like I am pro efficiency and anti nonsense. And so if I get thrown inefficiency and bonkers bullshit at the same time, like my brain malfunctions. So I already am like, move faster, go, go, go. So I'm worried that I'm already kind of bitchy and then it's
Mm.
gonna like I'm gonna get worse. And then I feel like nobody's gonna want to be around me.
I don't think so. I don't think so. This is going to balance totally right out because you have already kind of in this like amazing conversation, like talked about like some of the amazing principles that have always grounded you through all the crazy things in life, like leaning into your authenticness, knowing what you like, being who you are. And like, again, I think there might be this wave where like, yeah, it's even more than your normal, like if it's the short fusitis or whatever it might be. But I think you are going to settle right back in and and you're bringing so much joy, you're bringing the people together, we're all talking about it together, that I don't think it's going to get worse. I honestly think after the peak, which we never know when it is,
Yeah.
I think you're going to be bringing so much more joy to
I
people's
hope so.
lives than
I
you
worry
will.
though because I definitely can like if I'm hungry or tired, I
Oh
there's a
yeah.
chance I could rip your face off.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another thing that people wanted me to ask about and the libido situation. And instead of us feeling bad that we don't want to have sex, why can't we focus on like an anti-boner pill that we give to the
Mm.
husbands and the boyfriends? We just slip it in their water, okay, when they're not looking, and make it their problem and not our problem. Like,
Right.
why are we forced to have to be horny all the time
Yeah.
when we could just
There
make them less horny? Do you see where I'm going with this?
I know. And it seems like there's nothing yeah, I was gonna make a funny joke where it's like you could be in your like bath towel and look like a mess, and it's even worse sometimes. It's worse than yeah. So, anyways, I love this idea. I think we could work on this together. We could go to a pharmaceutical
Yeah.
company and we could work on an
We
anti-boner
want an
pill.
anti-boner pill for women in
Anti-boner pill.
menopause.
Exactly. I know some great people who could help us work on this. It could just,
Okay.
so it has to constrict. So what makes a boner is dilation. And so we could just
Yes.
make so any type of pharmaceutical that causes like constriction.
Yes. And we
And
just
then,
slip it in their water. Just
yeah,
as little and it's we could even
yeah,
like that sounds devious, but we can normalize
yeah,
this
yeah,
process.
yeah.
So the rest of us, we don't have to feel like, oh, the passion's gone. We make it
Right.
less about that and more about their boner or
Yeah,
lack thereof.
exactly.
Are
And
you
then
down with that?
I'm down with that. Like again, I say we should patent this already because now we've put it out there. So we should patent it first and then,
Okay.
get the team and then we just march right up to Pfizer.
Or, oh, I have another idea. We could make like a an anti-boner bourbon. So it's
Oh,
something, and then
yes.
we yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. And
Yes.
then
And
they
they could like
take that,
share and trade.
yes, they think it's a cocktail hour play, and we
Yes.
all like there's something really high end about this bourbon. And
Yes.
then it all
It's very
works
expensive
towards for
for
our
the greater
benefit.
good.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, this
Yep.
is the one thing the last thing on the planet I want to talk about because I don't even like to talk about my daughter's periods. Like, I don't know if I was raised in a way that I'm like a prude or I'm just embarrassed by everything that has to do with my lady wiener.
Nope.
But people talk about that it feels like glass. Now, I'm not there yet, but now that glass or that stabbing or that pain or the dryness or whatever, is that something like right now I would feel it, or is it just having to do with sex? That's one thing. Like, am I going to be at
Yeah.
Costco and be like, ow, my wiener hurts? Sorry,
Yes.
I can't even say.
You got it. You got it. So this is such a good question. And I am loving this. I'm having so much fun. So this should never happen. This does not have to happen. This is completely preventable. And so
Okay,
we've been
see?
talking about totally preventable. We've been talking about the patches that you're sticking on, but there is estrogen for down there for the lady wiener. And you can splash it on, you can slop it on, just like you your
You
moisturizer on
just
your
throw it in
face.
there.
You
You
throw it
just put
in,
it
you
up there.
swirl it around, up and down, in and out. And it is safe for everyone, despite the genetics, the cancers, the family history. Every single woman
But
can
do
use
we do that
vaginal
like when we go to
estrogen.
Costco, or is it a sex
It's
thing,
a
or is it like, is
prescription.
that paying something? It's all day long.
Well, so, oh, is it so? Okay, the vaginal estrogen is a prescription, but the pain, it can be, it depends on its severity. So, oftentimes, what triggers it is like penetration. And so, that, if when women tell me it feels like shards of glass, one, I start to feel terrible, but two, I'm like, oh, we're going to change your life because it is so reversible. It is so reversible,
So
which is the
reversible.
best
So we
news.
just throw some cream up there and
Yes.
just get some lube, and then we get the anti-boner bourbon involved, and then we're all
We're
square.
happy as can be. Yes. And so I think that's so, so, so important is that one, it doesn't have to ever have to get there. But two, if it does, vaginal estrogen is unfortunately a prescription. So you're going to go to Costco if that's your pharmacy. But also to answer your question, yes, some people have it so severe that it hurts with walking, sitting, wiping. And we never want that to happen. But if that
Just
has
awful.
occurred, it is awful. And it
I
is
will not stand for it. Not on my watch.
no,
Not on my watch.
no. Now, what are we gonna do about these patches that keep falling off? Should we switch to like a
You know what?
cream
I
or a
don't know.
gel?
I don't even understand why that is happening. But here, because I'm going to take
Mm,
one for the team, what is
okay.
the absolute most embarrassing thing that we should talk about now that people are too embarrassed to ask that we can talk about now? And
Yeah,
then you can give some answers so they don't have to Google it and then feel like a pervert.
let's do it.
Okay. What is it? I'm asking.
Can you have oral sex after using vaginal estrogen?
Interesting. I didn't see that coming. I
Yeah.
would not have asked that. Okay. And can
The-
you?
you totally can. It's not going to hurt your male partner, but totally preference.
I mean, is it like cherry flavored, or does it taste like you have Tylenol down there or something?
It probably I don't know why I'm thinking. I actually have no idea what it tastes like, but we will poll some people and ask. We'll never
Okay,
get an
that's a
answer.
good one. Any other embarrassing thing that we should cover?
Let's see, other embarrassing things. I'm sure there are many, 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 many. Oh, people ask, what I have a smell down there. What could that smell be? Or like, why is it there?
Oh, that is
Mhm.
embarrassing.
This is an embarrassing one. And here's the answer is that sometimes when women start hormone therapy, whether it's the patches like you have or the vaginal kind, and I'm separating them just because they're kind of different categories, systemic versus just local. Sometimes the
Hmm.
pH of the vagina resets. It resets, which is good because then you don't have the shards of glass. But sometimes in the resetting, the bacteria and the yeast are like, woohoo, let's party. And you can just get a little
Party.
bit of a yeast or a BV infection, and then we treat it, and then you're all good. And so sometimes when you first start on HRT and you sort of feel like you've got a odor or a fishy smell or something down there, and you're like, oh, what happened to me? It may be a little bit of just overgrowth of normal bacteria. We treat it, and then off you go.
Okay, that is good. I'm glad that we covered those two things because those are two things you will literally never hear me talking about
Okay,
ever.
great. I love that you were like, you asked them to yourself.
Well, I mean,
But
I
those are
figure like
good
sometimes people
ones.
come to these podcasts because they want to get like that
The
kind of
juicy.
information.
This
Can
was
you
a good.
use estrogen cream on your face? That was another one.
You can use estrogen cream on your face, and it's not FDA approved for that though. So,
Ew.
but you can put like a pea-sized amount, and under your eyes or kind of on your
And why do we do
cheeks.
that? I don't even know what that means. Like, why would we do
Right.
this?
Why would we do it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, as we lose estrogen, estrogen is super important for collagen, or you could use collagen supplements. So that's one reason why you've probably
Oh.
seen like collagen everywhere. Is it helpful? Yeah, we lose collagen production because estrogen helps us with collagen integrity. Now I'm just burping. Collagen integrity. It also helps us stay like hydrated so that our cheeks don't look like puffy and not like shrunken in.
Yeah.
And it also helps with the elasticity so you don't see as many of like the crow's feet and the wrinkles,
Oh, so it's
which
more of a beautification process to use the estrogen cream.
you got it
Oh.
exactly. But even if you're using systemic hormone therapy, like your patches, is it still helping your hair, skin, and nails? Totally.
Yeah, what's the deal with hair? I've heard people's hair
Yeah.
gets weird and like wiry. Like the
Yep.
underneath of my hair is like pubes. Like I have hair
Yeah.
pubes.
No, so do I. Do you want
And
to see
then,
mine? Like,
yeah, let's show each other our hair
let's
pubes.
show each
See, look at
other.
that. Look at
Look,
that. Yep. And then the
what
other
is
thing that happens
this?
is people's hair falls out. What the fuck is going on here?
This
Sorry.
pube is the one that like in all my reels, it's always there.
Yeah,
It's always
there's always
right
one.
here.
Yeah.
Always one.
I'll
Um,
just highlight that for the group right now,
yours
right
looks
there.
better than mine. Mine is
Well, you can't see up
really,
close. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, so again, estrogen, the message is that like we could make this like, oh, when you lose estrogen, everything's going to suck. But I agree with you. I don't love that message. It's more like, okay, what does estrogen actually do? It works from head to toe. And so it does play a role
Ah,
in hair. And that's why we make but tons of estrogen during pregnancy. And so that's why our hair is like, and it's like
yes.
beautiful. And then sometimes postpartum, it falls right out because the estrogen drops. And so estrogen is important for hair. And so as we lose estrogen, we can have hair breakage, hair thinning, male pattern balding, which is when the
Yeah, so I'm getting
hairline's
this right here, but I
receding.
think it's because my readers pull my hair out when I take them off. Like I'm bald here
Yeah.
and here.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, because it could be from glasses. So good advice is don't wear your hair up. I mean, if you need your glasses, just take care when you're taking them off.
Mhm. It's
But it can
basic.
also cause people who have like curly hair can become like more like stringy or wiry, or you can lose its shape and texture. It can be really frizzy. Yeah, I get in again, I mentioned this at the beginning because like I've always just been you've always been upbeat and positive. I've always had like my hair's always been, I've been lucky. And now I'm feeling it. I'm feeling
I
it.
mean, I think like at the end of the day, if all this shizzle is going to go down, like I do think we should focus on like a good lip gloss, good
Yeah.
earrings, like the things we
Yep.
can control.
Yep.
I mean, so back to my cult for a second.
Yeah.
What if we had an estrogen that pavilion that was adjacent to the menopause pavilion?
Mm-hmm.
And is there such a thing like could we have like bath soaks in estrogen? Can you take a estrogen bath? Wouldn't
Wouldn't
that be a
that
great
be
idea?
hysterical? I have some patients that were like literally like, let me bathe in it. It's funny
Or
because
yams? We could bathe in yams.
we could totally bathe in yams. I mean, I think this is it's difficult because we could do this or we could do the anti-boner pill. And I'm not sure which one is first because they're both such a good idea. Like an
Yes, I know.
Epsom salt, like a bath bomb with estrogen that
Yes,
you just like, like maybe
I'm full of
Lush would
ideas.
sponsor it.
You can
And
run the pavilion. You
yeah.
and yes,
Oh,
you run the
yes.
pavilion and you can bring edamame and yams and a
Yeah.
can-do attitude and a joyful heart.
Yes. Yes. I think this sounds amazing. And I'm so thankful for the community that you have built and you are continuing to build and the like positive light that you bring to people's day because people to get themselves to take themselves less seriously, it's really nice to see someone who like will model it, and normalize it and normalize going through, having a patch like on the carpet or like that you suck up in the vacuum or wherever it goes, patches on
Yeah.
patches. And it's just been so nice to like to help support the community by the embarrassing question round. And I just really had a great time just like
Yeah.
podcasting with you this afternoon.
Oh my gosh, definitely. And I can see a live in our future, although I'm scared of lives.
Yes.
Quick side story. I did a live on cybersecurity, and my cybersecurity expert couldn't figure out how to go live. So
Oh,
while I was trying to help this bonehead, oh, I was so mad at him. I had a hot flash that lasted probably 6 minutes while all of my followers watched and supported me. And they're like, you got this, you can do it. It was one of those things where I was dripping, I was stressed, and it was kind of a disaster. So our live is not going to be like that, although the audience would be really supportive. Maybe we should
yeah.
have that.
Would love to. I say like this would be such a great the week this comes out. We should do a live the week this comes out or after.
Yeah.
Before, after,
And then we
totally.
could do one with the guys and have the guys ask questions
Ooh,
because
that would be even
that could
better.
be
It
funny.
could be bring your partner to menopause night. Yeah.
Right.
They need to learn.
And they do need to learn.
They need
Although,
to
yeah,
learn.
yeah.
It'd
Some of
be good
them,
for them.
yeah, exactly. Some of them may be in avoidance mode, but they may have some questions they don't know how to deal with. But
Yeah. Let's keep the
I do
anti-boner
appreciate,
pill a secret though.
No, that is absolutely not something they can be aware of because it's going to
Yeah.
be, it's going to be my side hustle. And
Yeah.
I will check with legal to see if drugging your spouse is allowed
Yeah. And it's not to
in this
kill.
way.
It's not, yeah, in this way, in this specific way. It is not to kill. No, it's
It's
to, it's to deflate.
we'll brand it properly.
Yeah. We'll get legal and compliance involved. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much. Like,
Thank
I
you.
have loved spending time with you. I can't wait to do our live. And thank you so much for being so open and being on the show and sharing parts of your life that are like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but here we are. So thank you so
Here we
much.
are. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys next week for a brand new episode. Bye, everyone.